Well, Kofi, it's really nice to see you. I trust you're keeping well in these COVID days.
Yes, of course, I'm doing very well. I'm staying safe. I hope you're also doing well.
I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Great,
So,
great.
so we were just talking about the focus in Ghana on um, tax collections. What all is going on?
Yeah, I mean, currently, I think what is going on, the government is aiming at increasing tax revenue to GDP ratio. It's been very low over the years. So the focus now has been for the government to shore up the tax revenues in order to also to minimize the kind of borrowing that we've been borrowing, because our borrowing cannot be sustained. Currently, our loans to our GDP ratio is about 69%, and that is not sustainable. So the focus on the government now is to ensure that they increase the tax to GDP ratio to at least 24% or around that area, to be comparable with other countries within the sub-region and also within Africa. So that for me is a major shift of where we sit in as far as tax revenue is concerned. And because of that, the government is looking at several fronts. One is increasing the tax net by bringing in more people who are outside the net now, and then also a focus on compliance and tax audits, as well as transfer pricing. So I should say these are the key areas that the government is looking at.
So tell me a bit about more about those. What's going on in terms of, the approach to tax audits?
Just about approach to towers is there been a significant increase in tax audits. I mean, what I would even call at a point there were a number of para audits that were ongoing. So a client could face 2 or 3 audits at the same time,
Hmm.
or with the view of the mindset of the regulator of getting the maximum out of that taxpayer. So that for me was a concern for a number of taxpayers, but for the revenue authority, they felt that was the best way to ensure maximum compliance, and also the best way for them also to get to know whether their officers for which they send out there are also doing what they have been sent out there to do. So that was what was ongoing. What the government also has also done currently beyond the para audit is also to set up what they call tax audit and quality assurance unit. So this unit now then serves as a for both taxpayers and then for the revenue authority. So they review all the tax audits work that have been done by the revenue authority itself. And then for taxpayers also, that feels strongly done by, after the tax audit, can also now also have a recourse to this body to also look at that. Beyond that, there is also a plan to set up a tax arbitration board. And that, as I said, is all aimed at increasing the tax revenue and also minimizing disputes. So because currently, because of the para audits and then the TACA office that I said have been set up, there have been quite a number of tax disputes. And some have been running over years that are not ending. So the government is in trying to minimize that one, to make the system more efficient for both parties. And also instead of preventing people from resorting to first the law courts, they've also now tried to set up an arbitration, tax arbitration that will be empaneled by professionals, lawyers that have a background in tax, and academics that also have a background in tax. So this will be an independent body that will review disputes that arise as of these audits or as of normal compliance issues. So that is the area also that the government is also looking at in terms of trying to shore up, bringing efficiency within the system, bringing comfort into the system, and also at the same time increasing the tax revenue.
Well, that's just a great thing, right? A focus on dispute resolution mechanisms.
Yeah.
I mean, for multinational investors, that's always the big thing that everyone always wonders about in different countries. How do we get our disputes solved? So that's really a positive. Now, you also mentioned transfer pricing as a focus.
Correct.
What else going on there?
Okay. In terms of transfer pricing, there's been a revision to our laws, our regulations. So there's a new transfer pricing regulation 2020, which replaced an existing one which dated as far back as 2012. And with this new regulation, there's been a lot of, let me put it, significant changes, because the government or the Revenue Authority has relied on their compatriots, multinational friends, their what we call the African Tax Administration Forum. They have that as well. And they also rely on other multinational tax without frontiers to ensure that they are gradually going the OECD line and making sure that all the other areas that were missing in our old laws are also covered. So for now, the new law has introduced 4 levels. You file your return, local return, just like you file your corporate returns at the end of the year. You file then you also need to file your local file. So now you need to do a local file. Previously, all you needed to do was to have your file, your local documentation or your local file ready. You didn't need to file it. So you only call upon to provide it probably at the point where you were doing audits. But with the new regulations, you are supposed to also file your local report when you are filing your returns. There's also the requirement to file a master file and then a country by country report. The country by country report is due 1 year after your year end. So if say your year end is December, by December 2022, you should file your country by country report. However, the returns is due 4 months after your year end. So if your year end is December, then by April ending, you are required to file your returns and your local report and your master file. So, and the master file, they can rely on if your principals have already done so. If they already have a country by country reporting, they will accept that one and review it appropriately. So those are the significant changes that are coming as far as regulation is concerned. The regulation has also introduced safe harbor rules for some key line of items with a de minimis amount, and then also a de minimis amount that if you don't meet that threshold for the de minimis, you don't even have to do the computation. But for the safe harbor, there's a regulation that once your charges are within those set percentages, then of course you are allowed to not to do a documentation or to be seen as meeting an arm's length rule. So that for me is also very a new thing that had come that is also very refreshing for those who want to avoid all these documentation and other things to ensure that at least they are complying within the arm's length. However, for the de minimis amount where you will not require, the law or the regulation is also saying that, look, if you have 1 or 2 or 3 transactions, then they will accumulate it. So you cannot say that maybe each one of them is below, so then you are excused. They will accumulate all the transactions and to see whether indeed you are still within the de minimis. If not, then you qualify to do the documentation. So that is also one refreshing change that had come. Beyond that, there is also a number of transfer pricing audits. And that even began even before this new regulation came. So they are continuing with a lot of TP audits, looking at royalties, looking at technical amendment fees, looking at interest charges. I'm sure these are the 3 key areas that the audits are focusing on, because they believe that especially with respect to the interest charges and the technical amendment service fees. The background is that the Revenue Authority feel that a number of them signed the agreements, no work is done, yet they continue to charge these fees. So that's where focus and emphasis is on there. In terms of the interest, they also believe that sometimes certain multinationals pool resources from all subsidiaries, which sits at the corporate level, and then they tend to lend it out to their subsidiaries at commercial rates, and they feel that no, of course, the rates between parties lending to themselves and things is not the same as going to the bank to take loans. So they're also looking critically at some of these rates, and they are doing audits in these areas. What can also change now, though, is that the Revenue Authority also does its own benchmarking. Previously, it was a bit subjective. They will indicate that we will not accept, let's say 8%, we will not accept 5%, but it was not based on anything. But now they are also doing their own benchmarking to compare to what we are giving them, to see, and then of course they'll come back to you. So these are some of the changes and the new things that are coming as far as transfer pricing is concerned. The new regulation, the audits that are ongoing, and the focus on these three key areas that I've mentioned.
So that's fascinating, Kofi. Just a lot of stuff going on. I mean, there's a focus on increasing tax revenues as a percentage of GDP, and there's all this new focus on transfer pricing, which of course everyone needs to pay attention to. But it is welcome, on the other hand, that the tax authority is thinking about dispute resolution mechanisms and some safe harbors. But that point about almost secret comparables is a really interesting one. So just a lot of stuff going on, just a lot of things going on.
A lot. But they are taking it gradually. They are also, what I'm saying, they themselves are also doing a lot of capacity building. They are doing a lot of capacity building. They are doing a lot of electronic, computerization and linking up their processes and things. So, and they are doing a lot of consultations as well. Like I said, they are talking to a lot of other regulators, tax authorities within the international community and things to shore up and to also understand exactly what is going on elsewhere and how to get. Of course, Ghana also signed on to the Automatic Exchange of Information Act. So that is also another area. Of course, I don't know how the information is being shared, but that aspect is also there. That is also being seen as one of the areas to collaborate with other parties to ensure that they also get their portion of the revenues that are being generated.
Well, just a lot of stuff going on, Kofi. This has been fascinating. It's just interesting to hear. So, look, I want to thank you for your time. And hey, stay healthy till you can get a vaccination, huh?
And stay safe. And let's continue to keep in touch.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you.